But do you understand how important that is? Every voter, except for me, watches the debate while they are making agreements with the Kamala Harris campaign to not talk about these three absolutely damning topics. They are doing the exact opposite with Trump. They are finding all the worst possible things that they could put in front of him that they know will make him look bad, and they're definitely going to ask him about that. That's not a debate. That is a Kamala Harris campaign event masked as a debate. So the other day we heard about a forthcoming affidavit that was coming from a whistleblower at ABC who was going to reveal that the debate had been rigged completely, and there were going to be sworn testimony about exactly what they did. And the affidavit is out, and this is insane. This is insane. Like, when I looked at this, I started this entire story arc when I first read about this thing that was going to come out, just kind of like, okay, well, yeah, of course they rigged it. Everybody knows they rigged it, unless they're stupid. You know, I mean, in case you guys forgot, Kamala Harris is BFFs with the executive at Disney who's overseeing the entire thing. Like, oh, I'm sure it'll be super legit, dude. Like, yeah, I mean, there's no reason to expect any shenanigans. You know what I mean? Of course it'll be legit. But then I read this affidavit and I was like, oh my God, this is way worse than I thought. This is like way worse than I thought. So we are going to go through that affidavit and discuss it because, wow, this is unbelievable, dude. I'm starting to feel like the purpose of all of this is no longer like what I interpreted it to be, which was, okay, Trump came in and flipped over the apple cart, and then now you have all the like corrupt integration between corporations and government like aligning against him because they don't want us to start, thinking about how we're spending our tax dollars. They want to leave $80 billion worth of military equipment in Afghanistan. So they have to, we have to buy $100 million of new equipment, to replace it. They don't want us thinking about why are we sending so much money to Ukraine? Like, how is that helping our country? What do we care about a border dispute between Ukraine and Russia? Russia has a smaller economy than California. What are we doing? Why are we spending that much? We've sent more money over there, right? Like, what's California's annual budget? Why don't you put that up against how much in weaponry we've sent to Ukraine? Okay. So if Russia has a smaller economy than, we're sending like years of their entire annual, spend in just weapons over. Like, what are we doing? Okay. Like, I thought it's just that. Now I'm starting to think that maybe this is like destabilization phase where the actual purpose of everything is destabilization because this is just too perfect. This comes out right now. Really? But just, okay. So, and by the way, if you have not subscribed to the channel yet, that would be amazing. This is not a free channel. It doesn't cost money, but it's not free. It just costs you clicking subscribe one time and then everything. You can have everything on my site. It's like, take the candy, leave the quarter. That's all I ask. And it's on the honor system. So that's what it is. It takes 1 second. All right. So let's start with this little backdrop of information really quick. So you understand why this is so believable. Even though the guy's affidavit is under oath, like it's perjury if it's not true. So it's real. But when you look at the actual affidavit, it's wild, dude. Okay, so Kamala Harris has extraordinary friendship with Disney executive Dana Walden, overseeing ABC, which will host her first debate with Trump. Okay, so just to summarize, they've been best friends for 30 years. Okay, Harris first met Walden in 1994, and their husbands have known each other since the 1980s. The vice president called herself extraordinary friends with the Waldens. But ABC insists there's no conflict and said while Walden, 59, oversees 18 businesses across the Disney empire, including ABC News, she has no say in editorial decisions. All right. I'm sure that the people who are doing the debate, who all know that Kamala is best friends with their boss's boss's boss, I'm sure that they wouldn't have anything, they wouldn't conspire with the Kamala Harris campaign to rig it against Trump. Like, come on, guys. Do you think you live in a world that corrupt? It's so dumb, okay? In many ways, Dana and Matt are responsible for my marriage, Harris joked in 2022 at a fundraiser the Waldens were putting on for her. Listen, okay? The reason why this whole thing is so laughable to me when we talk about whether or not, there's collaboration is because of course there's collaboration, Like just think about your own life. If you're old enough to have friends for 30 years, is there a scenario where one of your best friends for 30 years is, pouring their heart and soul into an effort and you have the opportunity to help them achieve that effort and you're not going to put your finger on the scale? You're all, no, it's too important. It's too important that we maintain the sanctity of the debate stage and not rig it. Yeah, right. These people have no scruples at all. And to be clear, if I was in the same situation, I would rig it against my best friend's opponent too, in a heartbeat. Now, it just so happens that I am on the side of the guy who got it rigged against him. But nonetheless, I can at least be honest about that. Like, of course I'm gonna rig it for my friend. Duh. But I don't think that the people who actually rigged this are friends with her. I think they are just corrupt shills. So let's get into this thing. Breaking, ABC News whistleblower swears under penalty of perjury that the Kamala Harris campaign dictated the terms of the questions during the presidential debate. Now, that doesn't sound like that big a deal, but just wait until we read the actual affidavit. Furthermore, the Harris campaign insisted upon live fact-checking of Donald Trump during the debate. ABC News fact-checked Trump at least 5 times and did not fact-check Harris once, despite the Democratic candidate telling provable lies, such as the Fine People hoax and the bloodbath hoax. Fact. The whistleblower signed the affidavit in New York and has sent a copy to the Speaker, Mike Johnson. The notarized document states, it's notarized. The unnamed individual states that he or she is in possession of secret recordings that will prove that ABC rigged the presidential debate. ABC News committed election interference. This is a massive scandal. Okay, so let's jump into it here. And I'm leaving. I want to actually keep this clip in because I really do think that this right here, the eating the pets thing, was brilliant political strategy. I think the Democrats put that story out. It doesn't mean it's not true. Like, I'm not saying it's necessarily not true, but I'm saying I think that they pushed that story heavy right before the debate because they knew Trump would talk about it, and because they had a fact check waiting. I did not watch most of the debate because I can't. Like, I actually can't watch these things. Like, if I know it's rigged against my person, like, it'll take me 1 second. I'll get so mad. It's bad for my psyche. So I didn't even watch it. I did, however, watch the exchange here on the dog thing, like a more extended version I watched yesterday. And that fact, or the moderator had a fact check for that story immediately. How could they have possibly known that Trump was going to bring that up? How would they have had a fact check ready for something that Trump hadn't even said, unless they set it up on purpose, knowing he was going to walk into that trap and they would have a fact check ready for it? You know what I mean? So let's watch that and then we'll look at the affidavit.
In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there. And this is what...
Yeah, okay. So anyway, let's look at the actual affidavit and we will... Oops. That's not what I meant to do. All right, here we go. So this is an affidavit. Being duly sworn, make the following statement under penalty of perjury. My name is redacted. I reside redacted, New York. I have worked for ABC News for over 10 years in various technical and administrative positions. Since the acquisition of ABC News in 1996, I have observed... Wait. He says, I've worked for ABC News for 10 years. Okay, since the acquisition of ABC News in 1996. Okay, well, that's a lot longer than 10 years. I have observed significant transformations in the nature of news reporting at the organization. These changes suggest a shift from unbiased reporting to a model influenced by external factors. Yeah, you think? For the record, I do not endorse Donald Trump in his capacity as a candidate for president of the United States. The intent of this affidavit is to address concerns regarding perceived biases within news reporting within my employer's debate that will be hosted on September 10th, 2024. Okay, so this is a sworn affidavit before the debate went off. Okay. Furthermore, the Harris campaign input. Wait a minute. Oh, okay, yeah. Furthermore, the Harris campaign imposed restrictions on the scope of questioning, including no questions regarding the perceived health of President Joe Biden, no inquiries related to her tenure as Attorney General in San Francisco, no questions concerning her brother-in-law, Tony West, who faces allegations of embezzling billions of dollars in taxpayer funds and who may be involved in her administration if elected. What? Okay, so just to put that part in perspective, how big of a deal this is, you know, where everyone's like, oh, of course it's rigged. Okay, but do you understand how important that is? Every voter, except for me, watches the debate. Okay? Now, while they are making agreements with the Kamala Harris campaign to not talk about these three absolutely damning topics, they are doing the exact opposite with Trump. They are finding all the worst possible things that they could put in front of him that they know will make him look bad, and they're definitely going to ask him about that. That's not a debate. That is not a debate. That is a Kamala Harris campaign event masked as a debate. Okay? Period. This is, and it gets worse. But this part right here is so damning. And you know why? You want to know why? I didn't even know about Tony West. I have no shame about, I have no shame in telling you what I know or don't know, because I'm not trying to pose as like the most well-informed political pundit. That's not what this channel is. Okay? I'm a dude who loves combat sports and also pays attention to, stories that are interesting to me, and then I talk about them on this channel. So like, if people are, oh my God, you didn't even know about Tony West? Yeah, no, I didn't. And that is why this is so important. Tony West, who faces allegations of embezzling billions of dollars in taxpayer funds and who might be involved in her administration if elected. My point is, I didn't know about that. I didn't know, which means lots. YouTube, like Kyle Kalinske probably knows about that. Destiny probably knows about that. They wouldn't talk about it, but they know about that because that's their job to know that. But we're talking about voters, American voters. The vast majority of them do not know that. Now, if that would have been Trump, you think that they would have talked about? Obviously, they would have brought that up. Embezzling billions of dollars of taxpayer funds and might be involved in her campaign. You know what I mean? Might be involved in her cabinet or whatever in administration. It's unbelievable, dude. And no questions regarding the perceived health of President Joe Biden. Oh, you mean no questions about how Kamala Harris went in front of the American people and lied about the well-being of supposedly the leader of the country, who was obviously not even able to stand on a stage for 5 minutes without revealing that he has a collapsing dementia brain. And she went up and she's all, he's spry, he's great, awesome. It's like, you don't even want, we can't just say, how are we supposed to trust anything that you say after you did that? And then no inquiries into her tenure as Attorney General in San Francisco. Yeah, I bet she doesn't want anyone asking about that. Anyway, so then also he says internal organization climate. This is amazing. Okay. I've observed a pronounced bias against Donald Trump within ABC News. Employees expressing favorable views towards him experience significant concerns about potential retribution. And then there's a bunch of stuff redacted. So I imagine that is probably the names of people who were fired or whatever who said anything favorable about Trump. That's a really big deal. Okay. Purpose and documentation of affidavit. The affidavit is executed to document and provide transparency regarding the issues of fairness and impartiality in the debate process and broader concerns about journalistic integrity at ABC News. There isn't any. We all know that. Affirmation of documentation. This affidavit has been signed and notarized September 9th to ensure allegations set forth are formally documented prior to the debate between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. Notarized beforehand. Nice. In addition to notarizing this affidavit, I have sent a certified letter to myself, postmarked September 9th, 2024, which will remain unopened for any future investigations. I also dispatched a Federal Express package containing this affidavit sent on September 9th, 2024, and delivered to my residence on September 10th, which will remain unopened for political investigative purposes. Furthermore, I have sent a certified letter to Speaker Mike Johnson dated September 9th to establish a record that the correspondence was sent before the debate commenced. Additionally, for further investigations, I have secretly recorded several conversations that will prove that the Harris campaign insisted upon not only the fact-checking of Donald Trump, but also insisted on what questions were not to be asked under any circumstances, or else the Harris campaign would decline to participate in the debate. Wow. Hey, that's who I want for president. Now, I want to reiterate that I really do believe that what happened here with the Springfield story related to the Haitians, I think every single part of this is a coordinated effort by the Democrats. I'm not just talking about the eating the pets, talking about every single part of it. Okay, every single part of it. I think that they put that story out on purpose. You understand that, like, people that are operating at the level of the DNC or the campaign, the Kamala Harris campaign, they can make any story trend because they control, they do business with these enormous, like, social media firms that cost a lot, but they can make anything blow up because they have these armies of, like, real people or bots or whatever. Okay, that's how that works. You can make anything blow up if you have the right infrastructure. I saw this myself before I started any of my social media stuff. I had a video that went completely mega viral, right? It was like there's a website where you can, like, sell your clips or whatever. Someone reached out to me on Instagram. They're all, hey, have you talked to anybody about selling this clip? It was a clip of me, like, tricking my daughter into not crying, where I just cried in her face. And I was like, wait, hang on, it's my turn. And I cried, and then she would stop crying. And it kept getting purchased by all these media companies, and every single time it would get 20 million views. I had posted that before it got 500 views, right? And then we would look in the comments, and there were all these people, like, arguing with each other, but these super, like, single sentence, like, it's like they were creating conflict, with bots or whatever, and then people took it on, and it's like, so I could tell, I'm like, oh, there's this whole infrastructure underneath this that I don't understand exactly, but, like, they can make anything trend. So they know that Kamala is wildly exposed on immigration. So what are they going to do? Instead of having to try to defend the most indefensible change in, data-driven performance review, here's what it was under Trump, here's what it is under Kamala, the borders are. They pulled a very, very fancy, sleight of hand trick, and they're like, they leak that story. They know Trump is going to talk about it, and they have a fact check ready. And so the immigration conversation, instead of being about how everything she's done has been an absolute abject failure, the conversation is about Trump being racist and saying that Haitians eat dogs. It was very, very smart. Now, again, I'm not saying that they're not, because I think they are eating, like, they're, at the very least, they are definitely killing swans in the parks and cutting their heads off and then going and eating them. And they're probably eating the pets too. There's enough reports of that it's fair to say that's probably true, but they already had it set up. How had they already talked to the city guy, the city administrator in Springfield, Ohio, to where they had a fact check ready and waiting for when Trump brought that up at the debate. It's a setup. Okay. Now, the other part, phase 2 of that setup, is happening right now, where if you go search Springfield, Ohio, Haitians, every single story that you're going to see in mainstream media is about how Haitians are being targeted for violence. Oh my God. Now all these poor Haitians that are just here doing whatever are being targeted for right-wing violence, because that's who Trump really is. That's who his supporters are. He spreads misinformation, and it's dangerous and it's scary. And now these immigrants are going to get killed because of Trump. Yeah, fucking right. Okay, I don't believe you. I don't believe that's real. If there's some, violence threat that was called into the college, I read about that. They probably did it. They probably did it themselves. They called in the threat, emailed in the threat. I don't believe them at all. I do not believe it. This seems like a very well orchestrated media ploy to paint Trump as, to take an issue that she's exposed on and turn it into another opportunity to be like, he is a racist, dangerous scumbag, where it's like, well, maybe instead of that, we should be talking about why you put 20,000 Haitians in a swing state. You know what I mean? Why aren't you putting them in, why don't you put them in Connecticut? Why don't you put them in a state that you have locked down for votes? Like, you're telling me there's, you put 20,000 of them into swing state, Okay. Give them path to citizenship and thus the ability to vote. And then you trap Trump into being like, they're cat eaters. And so in their mind, they're like, oh, the Republicans hate us, so we should always vote for Democrats. And you have dishonestly just created another 20,000 votes in Ohio for you. Maybe that's what we should be talking about, since that's what's actually happening. It was a very clever political maneuver, though, that they did. But yeah, I don't believe anyone is targeting Haitians. I don't believe that. I think it's not stupid. It's brilliant, actually. Political ploy. But anyway, this affidavit is damning, and my guess is no one will care on the left at all. They won't care because they'll be like, well, yeah, that's how dangerous Trump is. They can play dirty, anything to make sure he doesn't get elected. That's what they're going to do. Anyway, that's what I got.